Continuing our review PowerPoints, this is European exploration of North America, looking at the big players that first came to America and then the colonization of America itself. The first group that we're going to talk about are the French. The main reason they came for exploration was for trade with the Native Americans. They wanted to acquire furs. Furs could be sold in Europe for top dollar because the climate was so cool. They were running out of the animals that they used to make the furs, and so they had to find a new place to find them. Other groups came in, like the priests. They came and tried to convert Native Americans to Christianity. In some places it took, other places it did not. It was very difficult because the Native Americans did not understand what the priests were talking about. And then they came to discover new land and claim it for France. Some of the territories explored and gained for France were Canada, the Great Lakes region, and the Mississippi River. Specifically the New Orleans area, which is the mouth of the Mississippi River. The French did not care to set up colonies in America. They just wanted to come. They did not want to come here to move permanently. The citizens were pretty happy in France at this time. So do you think that France would have had complete control of America? Probably not. We'd have to say that they had very limited control of this area. The next group is the Spanish. They came for the 3 G's, is how we usually talk about it, being gold, glory, and God. They set up missions to convert Native Americans to Christianity. One of the most famous missions here in Texas is the Alamo. They came to find gold and riches. They wanted to find huge golden cities like Cibolo, the famous city, to try to bring as much gold and glory back to Spain. They also set up many plantations to grow sugarcane, tobacco, and other crops. Because of their immense trade networks, these different crops were very, very profitable. And to discover new land and claim it for Spain. They're going to conquer most of South America and a lot of North America, including Mexico, California, Texas. So we're going to see the Spanish being very, very influential in a lot of territory, in the Southwest especially. The territory in North America that they did conquer and kept were Mexico, Southwest U.S., including Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, and Florida. Why did English colonists not fight Spanish colonists or try to take their land? The main reason that they wouldn't have done this is due to the fact that Spain was a very powerful nation, and the British and the Spanish were not fighting over the same territory, so they were usually pretty spread apart and weren't in contact very much. The next group that we have are the Dutch. The Dutch come for specifically economic purposes. They want to make money. They're going to try to come from their home country, get all the natural resources they can in North America, trade and all the raw materials, and send them back into the Dutch area, convert them into finished products, so that way they can all be successful. They're also trying to find this Northwest Passage to Asia. There's a long theory thinking that through the Great Lakes there's a river that would connect them all the way across North America to get to Asia. Try to find a faster way to go in all the way around Africa or all the way around South America. And they also want to discover some new land and claim it for the Dutch. Territory explored, the main place that we have to remember is New York. New York City and the New York State area, Manhattan Island. They're going to be trying to find these areas to try to they're going to try to control these areas, to try to make sure that everything is successfully theirs. The Dutch had a great government in the Netherlands and did not want to leave their home permanently, so they don't really colonize this area. Why were the English able to defeat the Dutch in New York so easily? Mainly, they just did not have a whole lot of people here. Without a whole lot of people, you cannot defend yourself. Finally, the group that we have that most Americans draw some lineage from are the English. This is the reasons they came for exploration include economic reasons, to gain wealth by finding new things, new products, including crops like tobacco and indigo and cotton. They came for religious freedom. Groups like the Pilgrims, the Puritans, the Quakers. These groups all came for religious freedom. to escape overcrowding in England. England was a very old society, so land was very, very rare. So you couldn't afford land most of the time. And then the cities were becoming more and more overcrowded, so they had to find new places for people to settle at. And then permanently settle in America and gain land, again, trying to find a way to provide for families. They wanted to explore. The whole idea of exploration was very, very invigorating. The adventure. People really liked the adventure. So they wanted to discover new land and claim it for England, and also to find raw materials and trade with England. There's an economic system called mercantilism where England would try to get all the raw materials out of the new world, America especially, send it back to England. Then they turn it into finished products, converting wood into furniture, and then they would find a way to sell it back to you for a lot more money. So it was a way for them to be profitable. Territory they explored, the area that we're really concentrating on is the east coast of America, the 13 original colonies stretching from the New England areas of Massachusetts all the way down to Georgia. Why were the English so much more powerful in America than the French and the Dutch? The main reason being that this group, the English, were the ones that came here for permanent colonization while everybody else just came for a little bit of time, just for specific reasons. The 13 English colonies. The 13 English colonies we're just going to go in order, just talking about a few of them here and there. We might not talk about all of them in this PowerPoint. Jamestown. This is the first permanent English settlement. We talked about it in our dates that we had to remember. It was established in 1607. It gained success by growing tobacco. If John Smith hadn't come up with the idea of tobacco growth to try to find a way to make money, this whole experiment in the Americas probably would not have existed. The next one that we have is Plymouth. This was the Mayflower Compact, the Pilgrims coming in 1620. They landed at Plymouth Rock with English settlers, the Mayflower did, They created the first form of self-government in the colonies called the Mayflower Compact. It was a document they all created before they set foot on land. The men signed it and agreed to make decisions and laws together. The majority would rule. And so that way they would have a very successful government. Next one we have are the New England colonies. The physical characteristics of the New England colonies is just that they were very cold, long winters. They had poor soil. There was no way for them to really grow huge crops, so they had to find other ways to make money. They did have a lot of access to raw materials. So industries that they were very successful at were logging, fishing, shipbuilding, and subsistence farming, meaning they were able to farm just enough to survive. Political factors that were very influential in this area were that they were religious groups that established first self-governments in the colonies. They wanted to rule themselves. They really didn't want to be ruled by the King of England because he was so far away, one. And two, he was very, very negative to their religious beliefs. They would have town meetings where everybody would meet at the church and they would make decisions over what the government should do. The religious factors of New England. The life was centered around religion. Religion was super important for these people. There was not much tolerance. We have examples like the Scarlet Letter, where if you commit a sin, they were going to brand you for it. Puritans and Pilgrims were very, very strict. If you did not attend church, they would probably hunt you down and make you come to church, unless you were deadly ill. Population density was very high because people lived so close together, so packed together in very small towns because that was the only way they could survive. The middle colonies were a little bit different. Their physical characteristics include rich soil. They're going to have a lot of farming, tobacco, some cotton, wheat. They have huge, deep rivers. These deep rivers help people transport goods all the way inland so they could spread out a little bit more. And the natural ports were good for trade. People could come up to the coast real easily in the middle colonies. Economic factors, they had large farms. Because they were able to grow wheat and grain so well, this became known as the bread basket of the colonies. They were able to provide food for everybody in and out. Logging is also going to be very important. There's lots of forests in this area, so logging was going to be easily done. Fishing, because of those good deep rivers and the natural ports, boats could get in and out, and they could do a lot of fishing to try to provide food for people. Shipbuilding as well. Because of having the large logging areas in the natural ports, they were able to build the ships and put them directly out into the water. Large cities in this area include Philadelphia, where we signed the Declaration of Independence, and New York City. Religious factors in this area. Religion was a little bit more tolerant in this area. We had more open religions in this area than we did in the New England colonies. New England was very, very strict. The middle colonies were a little bit more open. We have lots of different groups, including the Quakers, founded in Pennsylvania by a guy named William Penn. Yes, the state was named after him. And they were a religious group that was different than the Puritans and Pilgrims, and they did not fit in very well together, so they had to find a new place to locate. Finally, we had the southern colonies. The southern colonies have the richest soil. They're going to grow tobacco heavily, and they're going to grow cotton heavily. They're going to have a very warm climate, so they can grow crops constantly. Economically, they're going to have these plantation systems. These are cash crops. They're going to be growing these things, trying to find ways to make as much money as possible. They're going to have slaves to make it profitable. If you have to pay people to work for you at all times, you're not going to make a lot of money. So what you're going to see is, in the picture beside us, this is the transatlantic slave route, also known as triangular trade. If you can see, the shape is making a triangle. The raw materials would go from from the American colonies to England. England would send some finished goods to Africa in exchange for slaves, and then slaves would come from Africa back into these colonies to be sold out. So this was an area and a way for them to continually trade and make money. Religious factors, they're going to have very, very diverse religion. The middle colonies were more open. The southern colonies are going to be wide open. Specifically, we're going to have the Catholic faith groups that were Catholic, identified themselves, as being Catholic. They're going to be founded in Maryland. We're going to have other religious groups in and out. People came here to make money, not for religious freedom. So they were still members of the Church of England, people that did not break away from the original church in England that spread out through this area. So there's going to be a lot more religious diversity here in the southern colonies. Finally, the population density is very, very low because people are going to spread out over huge acres of land. There's going to be a whole lot of open area for everybody to see. Finally, these are the establishments of self-government to show the history of self-government from England here to America. First, we have the Magna Carta, founded in 1215. It limited the power of the king. This was the first document that ever tried to limit the power of the king. Next, we had the English Bill of Rights. This was given to the English citizens as a way for them to have individual rights, similar to our Bill of Rights. We have the Parliament established. This is a legislative law-making body that would find a way to make laws and have more power than the king. That way, the people could have decisions being made by themselves instead of just one powerful person. Town hall meetings, especially in New England, were, king's power, the monarchy. The monarchy had total control at this point in time in history. And so they were very, very skittish of this and wanted to pull away from the history of England. The distance from England. This was a huge factor for establishing self-government in the colonies because it would take 6, 8, 12 weeks to sail from North America over to England and then to make a decision and send that same 6, 8, 12 weeks to come back. And so because of this, there was a lot of problems with the ruling of the king. We would have town hall meetings. The town hall meetings, again, where the people could individually make the laws and the decisions needed for their colonies. The Mayflower Compact in 1620. Self-government. It's the first time self-government established in the colonies. 1620, Mayflower Compact, self-government. Then we have Virginia House of Burgesses. This is the first representative assembly modeled after Parliament. The town hall meetings were small groups, individual groups, where everybody had a say. In the Virginia House of Burgesses, you had to have large groups. You had to have somebody representing each little town. That way the state could, or the colony itself could work together. And finally, we had the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. This is the first handwritten constitution in the colonies. This one established how everything be ruled, from the governor down to the parliament, to the legislative branch, judicial branches, and down to the cities. So it was a very, very important document. So these are just the essentials of the early colonization in America through all the way leading up to close to the American Revolution. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helps us out.